They tell you bananas will destroy your kidneys. They warn you that potatoes could end your life. But what they almost never tell you is this quiet, dangerous truth: when you cut out potassium-rich foods, your body doesn't just lose potassium. It starts starving for key vitamins. And if those deficiencies go uncorrected, that's when the road can quietly lead to dialysis. Let me say this gently, because it matters. If you're living on a low potassium diet and you're not replacing what's being lost, you're putting yourself at risk, often without realizing it. Research is starting to make this painfully clear. There are more than 800 million people worldwide with CKD, and over half are told to limit potassium. At the same time, an overwhelming number of them are deficient in essential vitamins that protect kidney tissue. That isn't a coincidence. Avoiding foods like bananas, potatoes, tomatoes, and citrus doesn't just remove potassium, it removes vital nutrients your kidneys depend on to survive. And if you're not eating those foods, there are 3 vitamins your body desperately needs you to replace. Not as a trend, but as protection so your kidneys don't pay the price later. Vitamin 1, folate. Let's start with folate, vitamin B9, because this one truly matters. Folate isn't just another B vitamin. It's one of the most protective nutrients your kidneys rely on, and science has been very clear about that. If you've ever looked at a renal multivitamin, you might notice something interesting. Whether it's mine or anyone else's, the amount of folate is almost always the same. That's not marketing. Researchers have identified a specific daily amount that the kidneys respond to, and that's why every serious renal formula includes it. One major study found that simply supplementing folate daily slowed kidney disease progression by up to 44%. Let that sink in for a moment. One vitamin, one daily habit, and potentially years, sometimes decades away from dialysis. This is why I always pause here and ask gently, did your doctor ever talk to you about folate? Did they prescribe a renal multivitamin that includes it? Or were you only told to stay away from bananas and potatoes without being shown how to replace what your body was losing? Your kidneys need more than restriction. They need support. And folate is one of the quiet ways you give them that chance. The quiet cost of avoiding potassium-rich foods. When you're told to avoid potassium-rich foods, what you're really being asked to avoid are some of the most vitamin-dense foods on the planet. Spinach, avocado, beans. Whole, living foods that nourish your kidneys, not harm them. And I want to be very clear here, this isn't opinion. Every word I'm sharing is backed by solid science, peer-reviewed studies, reviews, and meta-analyses from respected journals. This isn't up for debate. Yes, avoiding potassium-rich foods also means avoiding folate-rich foods. And here's the painful irony: many people are warned that foods like spinach or avocado will damage their kidneys, when in reality, avoiding them is what increases the risk of kidney failure. That association is well documented. Take a breath and really let that sink in. Now, there are ways to protect yourself. The first and most important is to make sure you're not becoming deficient. A high-quality renal multivitamin should be your first line of defense. A formula like Mina Best is designed specifically for kidney patients, to help cover folate and the other critical nutrients we'll talk about without putting extra strain on your kidneys. And this part matters deeply: if you have CKD, not all multivitamins are safe. Many common brands include vitamin A and other ingredients that kidney patients should never supplement. That's why choosing a renal-specific multivitamin is so important. One that's made to be safe across all stages of CKD, even dialysis. Restriction alone doesn't protect kidneys. nourishment does. And making sure your body isn't quietly slipping into deficiency can make all the difference. Finding balance with folate even on a low potassium diet. So the natural question becomes, what can you still eat if you've been told to limit potassium, but you don't want your body to quietly slip into folate deficiency? If you look closely, the answer can feel frustrating. Most of the richest folate sources: spinach, dark leafy greens, avocado, broccoli, Brussels sprouts are also the very foods people with CKD are often told to avoid. Spinach, for example, is one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet and an incredible source of folate, yet it's usually taken off the table. And that's exactly the problem. When you avoid potassium-rich foods, you're almost always avoiding nutrient-rich foods too, especially folate. That's why deficiency becomes so common. That said, there are gentle exceptions your kidneys usually tolerate well. Cauliflower is one of my favorites: easy to cook, easy to add to meals, low in potassium, and surprisingly rich in folate. Romaine lettuce is another quiet hero. It's high in folate, very low in calories, and while it does contain potassium, you'd have to eat an unrealistic amount for it to be an issue. Don't fear lettuce. Green beans are also worth embracing. They're the one legume I consistently recommend, not only for their folate content, but for how kidney-friendly they are overall. And finally, asparagus. Tender, nourishing, rich in folate, and low enough in potassium to truly earn its place as a kidney-friendly superfood. The goal isn't fear. It's balance. And even with restrictions, there are ways to nourish your kidneys instead of quietly depriving them. Vitamin 2, vitamin E. Now let's slow down and talk about vitamin E, because this one is truly protective. Vitamin E isn't just nice to have. It's a kidney-saving nutrient. And that's not an exaggeration. Studies have shown that supplementing vitamin E can significantly lower creatinine levels, especially in people with diabetes. That benefit comes from its powerful antioxidant action, something your kidneys rely on more than most people realize. Here's the deeper truth: vitamins matter for kidney health, yes, but antioxidants may matter even more. Your kidneys are constantly exposed to oxidative stress, and vitamin E helps calm that damage. It's both a vitamin and an antioxidant. So imagine being told to avoid it entirely through diet. Suddenly, the rise in dialysis cases doesn't feel so mysterious anymore. We even have large studies showing that antioxidant therapy doesn't just slow kidney disease, it can help reverse damage, at any stage. That's why it's so painful to see people told to cut out the very foods that provide these protective compounds. Because of course, the richest sources of vitamin E are also high in potassium. Avocado, the most feared fruit in renal diets. Spinach. Swiss chard. Kale. Kiwi. Foods you've likely been warned against for years. But when you remove them, you're not just losing vitamin E. You're also losing selenium, vitamin C, beta-carotene, flavonoids, layers of antioxidants your body desperately needs to protect your kidneys. This isn't about breaking rules. It's about understanding what your kidneys are quietly missing and making sure they're no longer fighting alone. How to get more vitamin E safely. So the real question becomes, how do you increase vitamin E without putting your kidneys at risk? First, and please hear me on this, don't reach for generic vitamin E supplements. Many of you have been told by your doctors to avoid supplements altogether, and honestly, that warning didn't come out of nowhere. Products made for the general population can be genuinely dangerous when you're living with kidney disease. Here's why. Vitamins D, E, K, and A are fat-soluble. That means they don't flush out easily. They build up. And when kidney function is reduced, that buildup can quietly turn toxic. If you search online for vitamin E supplements, you'll mostly find very high doses amounts that a healthy kidney might handle, but a struggling one absolutely cannot. And there's another piece people rarely explain. Antioxidants are not meant to work alone. They're designed to work together, in synergy. Taking a single antioxidant in isolation, even in a huge dose, doesn't come close to the protective power of balanced nutrition. This is exactly why the renal diet, when done thoughtfully, can be so powerful. Real foods provide combinations of nutrients that support and amplify each other in ways pills simply can't replicate. That's why it's so frustrating to see potassium restricted across the board, without nuance. Because when that happens, you don't just lose potassium, you lose the natural, synergistic antioxidant protection your kidneys were depending on. Your kidneys don't need extremes. They need balance, safety, and support that actually makes sense for your body. Vitamin E-rich foods you can still enjoy. Now let me show you that vitamin E doesn't have to be complicated, or scary. There are foods you can gently fit into your diet that still support your kidneys. Let's start with nuts and seeds. Small amounts of sunflower seeds, almonds, or hazelnuts can be incredibly nourishing. They're rich in vitamin E, yes, but also in powerful antioxidants, polyphenol, and selenium, all of which help protect kidney tissue. And please don't panic about potassium here. The numbers you see on charts are usually based on 100 grams. You would never eat that much at once. A small handful is more than enough. Moderation is the key, especially since these foods are calorie and protein dense. Next, red bell peppers. If there's one vegetable I truly love for kidney patients, it's this one. Red bell peppers are antioxidant powerhouses loaded with vitamins, fiber, and protective compounds, yet naturally low in potassium. That combination is rare, and it makes them something you can enjoy every single day. And don't overlook mango. Beyond its sweetness, mango is packed with antioxidants, especially beta-carotene, which plays a quiet but important role in reducing oxidative stress. When you step back and look at it all, it becomes clear how many nourishing foods people are asked to give up on a low-potassium diet. That's exactly why being intentional, choosing what you can eat instead of only focusing on restriction, matters so much. Your kidneys deserve nourishment, not deprivation. Why not just supplement antioxidants? You might be wondering very reasonably, why not just supplement all these antioxidants safely and stop worrying about potassium altogether? I wish it had been that simple for a long time. The truth is, research on antioxidants and CKD is still relatively new. For years, no one thought to create a renal multivitamin that truly reflects what the science is now showing, one that combines the most kidney-protective antioxidants together, in safe, CKD-appropriate amounts. I'm talking about multiple forms of vitamin E, including gamma and delta, along with selenium, zinc, copper, vitamin C, and coenzyme Q10. These nutrients don't work well alone. They're meant to work as a team. Not as a miracle, but as a way to protect yourself from the quiet, cumulative nutrient deficiencies that so many people with CKD never even realize are harming them. Your kidneys are already working hard. Supporting them thoughtfully can make all the difference. Final thoughts on low-potassium diets. Before we talk about the last vitamin you need to know about, I want to pause because this matters more than any supplement. You might be wondering why I keep saying if you are following a low-potassium diet. Aren't all CKD patients supposed to avoid potassium? This is one of the most dangerous myths in the renal world, and it breaks my heart how deeply it has taken hold. Some of you are genuinely terrified of food. I see it every day, people who truly believe that eating an avocado could kill them. Even mentioning potassium-containing foods sparks fear, anger, and panic. That level of fear doesn't come from science. It comes from misinformation. I recently read a comment from someone who was convinced that a CKD patient with a very low GFR could literally die from the potassium in an avocado, as if one bite would stop the heart. I want you to breathe with me for a moment. That is not how the human body works. That is not what science says. And that is not what guidelines teach. Food is not the main cause of high potassium. Medications are. Many common CKD drugs impair potassium excretion, and that is the real driver of hyperkalemia, not fruits and vegetables. And here's something even more important: living your entire life with untreated low potassium or constant fear of food is not healthy. Hyperkalemia is treatable. There are effective medical treatments for it. If someone is simply telling you to stop eating fruits and vegetables instead of addressing potassium properly, that is a failure of the system, not your body. Let's take avocado for a second. Avocados are incredibly rich in fiber, which helps prevent constipation. And do you know what actually raises potassium levels? Constipation. That's not opinion, that's in renal dietary guidelines. Everything I share with you comes from both clinical experience and large, well-designed studies. This isn't about being rebellious. It's about being informed. So please hear me, gently and clearly. If you are a CKD patient or even on dialysis and you have been told that fruits and vegetables will literally kill you, you have been misled. Fear should never be the foundation of your diet. Nourishment should be. Your kidneys are already under stress. Living in constant fear of food only adds another burden they don't deserve. The quiet power of vitamin C. Before we close, there's one last vitamin I really want you to hear me on, because if you're following a low potassium diet, this is the one you're almost certainly missing. And in many ways, it's the most important of all: vitamin C. Vitamin C does so much more than people realize. It helps lower blood pressure, supports detoxification, improves iron absorption, speeds wound healing, strengthens immunity, and that's just the surface. But what makes vitamin C truly special for kidney health is this: it's not just a vitamin. It's one of the most powerful antioxidants your body has. And even more than that, vitamin C is what we call an antioxidant bioenhancer. In simple terms, it helps other antioxidants work better. When vitamin C is present, your body can absorb and use other antioxidants up to 5 times more effectively. A squeeze of lemon and green tea dramatically boosts catechin absorption. The same effect happens with carotenoids, anthocyanins, and even vitamin E. Vitamin C makes everything else more powerful. You don't need huge amounts. Just small, regular doses like those found naturally in citrus fruits, kiwi, papaya, tomatoes, broccoli, or kale are enough to do the job. Adding a little lemon or citrus to your meals can quietly change how well your body uses the nutrients you're already eating. Now, supplements can help. I've included a very specific, kidney-safe form of vitamin C in Rena Best for that reason. But food is different. You take your multivitamin once a day, and it supports absorption at that meal. When vitamin C comes from food, it supports absorption throughout the day. And when potassium-rich fruits and vegetables are removed indiscriminately, your body doesn't just lose vitamins, it loses its ability to absorb antioxidants properly. This is the part that hurts the most. By following outdated or incorrect dietary advice, many people end up with serious nutrient deficiencies, and for what? Fear, confusion, misinformation. Please make sure your renal diet is guided by a qualified professional who understands current science, not by random advice online or blanket rules rooted in fear. This is your life. Your kidneys. Your future. Thank you for spending this time with me. God bless you all.